DLD is the place for innovation. This session is going to be about innovation, about social innovation. My name is Rainer, and I work for a pretty crazy organization. It's crazy, but it's also wonderful. Ashoka is what you could call the global VC for those founders who would like to make the world a better place. We call these people social entrepreneurs. Social entrepreneurs are people that develop radically new ideas, really disruptive new ideas, how to change the world and how to solve our social problems. And they don't only stop at developing it, they also create organizations, they create social movements, they create social businesses to actually implement these ideas. So they challenge the status quo by asking the really visionary questions, the really visionary what-if questions. And I brought you some examples to give you an idea of who we mean before we jump into migration. So here are a few historical examples, you could say. You know, it starts with people like Henri Dunant that had this radical idea that we should give medication and security to everybody in the world, no matter what their nationality or their resources are. And so in the 1860s, he created the Red Cross, which today has 100 million members around the world. It's a huge success story, and started by a private citizen. We have people like Mohammed Yunus, who had this crazy idea that we could fight poverty not only with donations, but also with microfinance, with microloans. And he started the Grameen Bank. We have people like Jimmy Wales, who's been to DLD more than once, who had this crazy idea to ask, what if we could create one big encyclopedia we all created together, and we created on the web, and he did it, and Wikipedia was created. Well, last example, Casey Fenton had this idea that everybody in the world could be everybody else's guests for free at home to create a more understanding and more peaceful world. And so he created couchsurfing. And that was years before Airbnb turned it into a multi-billion business. So Ashoka selects the best of these people, the best of the people that think in their ways, in their entrepreneurial ways. And we select them as Ashoka Fellows in the world's biggest network of social innovators, the Ashoka Fellowship. And we support them so that they can scale their ideas big time. That is our mission. And so that means for me, I work every single day with people that are creative, that are optimistic. So I tend to say, working for Ashoka is a bit like the opposite of reading the news. You know? No complaints, no catastrophes, only solutions, only hope, only creativity, and ideas how we can break free and overcome these challenges. As I said, there are around 3,000 Ashoka Fellows worldwide, the biggest platform for social innovation that we have. And a lot of them work in very different areas, from agriculture to medicine to education. And around 150 of them work on migration, the big challenges there are with integrating refugees, with migration around the world. And I would like to run you through 5 examples that I always find particularly fascinating and that keep me going, because they are the ones that ask the really radical what-if questions. And I would like to present you just 5 of those. Are you ready? OK. So the first one deals with one of the most dramatic aspects of migration. Refugees trying to get to Europe and drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. Around 5,000 refugees have died last year, more than in any year before. And so 3 years ago, Chris Cratchambone just couldn't take it anymore and said, we need to do something. And he asked the question, what if we, as private citizens, started becoming active in rescuing these people? And so he bought a boat and renovated it and put a lot of technology in it, including 2 drones that he could use to spot refugee boats. And so he created what he called MOAS. It's the, I have to look this up. It's the Migrant Offshore Aid Station in Malta. And in the last 3 years, he has saved 33,000 lives of refugees. He has inspired He has inspired 20 other organizations to do the same. And he is now working on the next level, creating safe humanitarian corridors with air connections, where countries in Europe resettle refugees directly. He's talking to the heads of state of several European countries right now to do that. Number 2, Daniel Kerber. If you look at the big refugee camps, this is Zaatari, the biggest refugee camp in Jordan, 80,000 people. They basically run like machines, like highly controlled environments. And that makes a certain sense because they were originally conceptualized as short-term shelters. But these days, sometimes refugees live in these camps for generations. And so when Daniel came to Zaatari for the first time, the head of the camp said, look, we're trying to run a camp here, but people are turning it into a city. So what should we do? And he asked, what if we help them to do exactly that? What if we help them to redesign these camps into actual livable spaces with social and economic value? And so he started reorganizing all the managing structures in the camp. He started empowering the refugees there to build city-like structures, like community centers, like waste management and power plants, like water filtering gardens, like higher education systems, internet connectivity, micro businesses, and even fab labs for 3D printing, as you see here. So he helped to give refugees back a certain voice, a certain kind of participation, a certain dignity, and a lot of more well-being in where they are. Daniel is also one of the chief architects of the Tempelhof refugee facility in Berlin. And he is now starting to change the standard manual how refugee operations are run in general around the world. Munich is a place of sanity and innovation, as we heard from Steffi. So here we have an example that is from Munich, right in front of our doorstep. In 2000, Michael Stenger asked the question, what if we started caring about the unaccompanied refugee children that arrive in Germany? What if we started educating them properly so that they have a chance to integrate in Germany? And so in 2000, he created the Schlauschule. The Schlauschule is the first ever private school in Germany to take care of this vulnerable group. And he started structuring the lessons very much according to the state schools we have in Germany. He added a few legal services, a few psychosocial services, and it turned out to be a huge success. It turns out that these children, even though they sometimes arrive with very little language, they manage to be very successful in the standard exams and that they can really qualify for normal vocational training and a professional career in Germany. He's had hundreds of graduates now, and just last year, the city asked him to mastermind a huge migration and innovation campus in the city of Munich, a 50 million euro investment, and he basically drafted the whole plan and which kinds of institutions should be there and how they should be run. That's a huge scaling success, right? You don't need to do it the startup-y way to recreate your organization in more than the places where you started. You can also talk to politicians, and they can help to amplify what you want to do. It's a typical way of social entrepreneur scaling. Number 4, Sophia Appelgren in Sweden asked, what if we could leverage the knowledge that migrants bring to our countries, the special intercultural knowledge and expertise, and use it for our businesses? So what she does, she selects very entrepreneurial immigrant women in Sweden and connects them to companies in a very symbiotic mentoring system. So the companies provide a mentor, a personal mentor, so that they can build their careers and their lives in Sweden. And on the other hand, the companies pay for it because the women offer them all the insights about immigrant life and about immigrant markets that they need to place their products. So they work with the companies in lectures, in forums, in focus groups, all kinds of formats, so that the companies can actually benefit from their knowledge. And it has turned out to be a very successful for-profit model. It's a purely business-run, income-based model that she can run now. Number 5, last one. A lot of people on conflict zones and refugees are highly traumatized because of the violence that they have seen, and they often suffer until today from family conflicts that perpetuate the violence, of insomnia, a lot of obstacles that keep them from integrating properly into German society, or in any kind of society. And of course, there are not enough psychologists and specialists around to turn to all these people. And even if they could, a lot of them are not from the same cultural area. So what she said is, what if we started training refugees to become counselors themselves so that they can counsel each other? So she started working in Afghanistan 5 years ago. And she trained around 300 Afghans to be psychosocial counselors. And they have supported around 100,000 people in Afghanistan, both online, you can all do this on a cell phone, and offline in face-to-face meetings. Sometimes it's even better to do it online because it's a bit of a stigma to go to a psychosocial counselor. 2 years ago, she started bringing this solution to Germany so we can learn how to tackle the refugee crisis better. A lot of you know the phrase reverse innovation, right? Here we have it in the social space, and it's a very, very impressive example of that. What do all these examples show us? I think there are two things that we can learn from this. The first is refugees are not only victims. They're neither charity cases nor just threats. They have unbelievable potential, and they can be the source of their own solution if we find ways to empower them, to make it possible for them to create, to manage, to learn, to build, to do the same things that we do. And the Ashoka Fellows that you just saw can give us ideas and concrete examples how we can do that and not fall into this trap to see refugees as powerless objects and burdens. And I think the second thing that we can learn is actual proven citizen-based solutions to these challenges exist. They have actual impact. They can really make a difference, and we can learn a lot from them. And we can make them stronger and spread them even more if we really want to. And I'm sure we can. For example, Ashoka and Zalando last year has brought most of the solutions that you just heard to Germany, because we need to think beyond reinventing the wheel. This is what's going on right now in all over Europe. A lot of grassroots initiatives try to get hold of the problems and try to find solutions locally, but there is so much experience out there, so many solutions out there that we could bring to Germany to be much faster. We're planning to build a bigger scaling platform for all these solutions for all over Europe to make sure that all of this reaches refugees in each of the countries. We cannot do this alone. We will need all of you for this. And I'm sure there is enough expertise and money in this room to bring all these solutions to all European countries if we want to, and even more solutions than that. So please approach me afterwards. Let's talk about ways that you can help. Let's become partners. Let's find ways to spread these interesting solutions as much as we can. And if you're still not convinced by these 5 examples, there is an example number 6, who's waiting here. It's Shai, who's going to be on the panel, next panel, with the University of the People. He's one of the most impressive social entrepreneurs that I have ever met, and it will be a pleasure to see him on stage. To make sure that you find me afterwards, I will do what has turned out to work best at technology conferences. I will leave my cell phone in my pocket and put on a logo hoodie, as most of you have, especially the DLD people. So I'm the guy with the gray hoodie with the Ashoka tree on it, and I hope we can all talk. Have fun.